Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast. I'm your host, Rich Herrera. This is the pod for all things food and pop culture. Thanks for joining us. You have a lot of pods to choose from, but you chose mine, so thank you for that. Just a couple of reminders to follow me on socials on Instagram, X, Twitter, or yeah, X, we're calling it now, right? Facebook, TikTok, at Rich Herrera, at Eat Your Content. Also on YouTube, at Eat Your Content. Just start a YouTube channel there so you can catch up on older episodes as I upload them. Make sure to follow us on the podcast player of your choice at Eat Your Content and hit that notification bell button to make sure that you're notified of when new pods drop. We are week 3 in the Top Chef episodic recaps and our draft. So make sure you're following us and make sure that you know when everything's happening and you can catch up and keep score like everyone else. Joining me again this week is spicy chef extraordinaire, Chef Amadeus. Welcome back, Chef. Thanks for coming back for another week.
Hey, it's been fun. The first, 2 weeks have been a lot of fun. I've been contemplating our drafts that we did and where we are now, and
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's been. I appreciate you having me as your co-host on this because I'm really when I'm watching this show now, I feel like I'm watching the game. Like yes,
yeah.
yes,
I've
yes.
invested. I've invested, man. I'm watching
Yeah,
some
yeah. I'm very invested in it right now.
I'm like Kevin, my number one draft pick. You're going all Johnny Manziel on me, man. You're coming up bust. Like what the heck? What the heck?
Oh, yeah. What? But in his defense, I'm gonna tell you this week's competition. Do you know who had the edge?
No.
The first 3 or 4 chefs that the judges went to first,
Oh, okay, yeah, because they got
because
served first, right?
it was so hot out there. The bees are going, and they got enough that they had one. They had enough food. Number two, um, everything was fresh and everything like that. When you got down to Kenny and the later guys, you see they were scraping down,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I think going whoever they I don't know how they pick how they choose who to go to first or not, but going to those first because now everything's out of the way now.
Yeah. So
Once the judges come through, you're good.
let's get into it. So week 3, the title of the episode is Take It Cheesy. So it took 3 weeks to get a cheese episode through Wisconsin about Wisconsin. So we already conquered beer and we already conquered cheese. So I'm not really for sure what's left after you get done with Wisconsin's iconic foods, but we're gonna see as we move along through the episodes. But for the quickfire challenge, they highlighted a food that I didn't necessarily equate with Wisconsin, and that was cherries. So I thought it was interesting. From Door County, Wisconsin, apparently is a kind of a coastal town with a lake area there and farming community that's known for cherries. So the quickfire challenge, there was a couple of guest judges. We had Top Chef season 8 alum and I think season 5 alum, Carla Hall and actor, writer, director Clea Duvall. Love both of these judges. I love Carla Hall. Carla Hall is a great TV personality and is proof that even if you don't win Top Chef, you still win, right? Because she didn't
Oh
win.
yeah.
She was on Top Chef twice and didn't win either season. But I mean, she's been on TV a lot. She's hosted The Kitchen on Food Network and hosted a bunch of other shows. So she's got her TV chops. And she was on my short list of Padma replacements. So it was her. I thought she would do a really good job if they didn't pick Kristen
Well,
Kish. But
there's also Tiffany Deary,
yeah, yeah,
and everybody loves Tiffany.
that's right.
So I
That's
mean,
right.
she's been on a slew of shows from Master Chef Kids to Bar Rescue. I mean, and she's got her restaurants down in Dallas. So like I say, she's one of those the alumni from alums from Top Chef that probably could do a good job at hosting.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So the challenge for the quickfire challenge was to create a dish pairing cherries with a mystery ingredient. They had 30 minutes to do that. And the mystery ingredients are behind a panel of doors. Clever, Door County, Wisconsin, behind a panel of doors. So Rosica, having won the elimination challenge, they quote unquote gave her an advantage by picking first. But really, it's not really an advantage because you don't know what you're picking. it's behind a closed
Yep.
door. It's all randomized, but I don't know. It didn't really. If they were trying to play it up as an advantage, it didn't quite work. So, so everybody had to pick a door, and behind the door was the mystery ingredient they had to pair with cherries. So let's run them down real quick. Rossica had cipollini onions. Danny had bamboo shoots. Amanda got yellow mustard. Michelle got ginseng. Charlie got chocolate. Kenny got marshmallows, Dan got kimchi, Kevin got black garlic, Savannah was chicken livers, Kalina got pink salmon, Laura got condensed milk, Alicia serrano peppers, and Manny got soy sauce. So, what do you think of this challenge with cherries? What are kind of some of the pitfalls that a chef could run into when you're cooking with cherries and these
Number
ingredients?
well, number one thing is time because you got to pit the cherries.
Yeah, that was a time sink, man.
that's
That was a time
that's
sink.
the big thing is pitting those cherries. I think the other thing comes down to experience. What's your experience being out of the box? Being comfortable, being uncomfortable on a regular basis, being comfortable being uncomfortable. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's a big skill set with chefs. And I think the other thing is trusting your experience and your gut to say, you know, and don't get too overconfident either. Oh, I got this. I got this. I've always said on Top Chef, as soon as you hear somebody say, "Oh, I got this," "Oh, yeah, 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 we got this," you're not gonna do well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
You're not
So
gonna do well.
So looking at the list of the mystery ingredients that everybody got that picked from them, who do you think got hosed, and who do you think got an advantage, or a perceived advantage with the mystery ingredient?
The perceived was Charlie, because
Oh
chocolate
yeah,
and cherries. That's
no man,
that's like peanut butter and jelly. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
um, and then I think the young lady that had who had the Mexican cheese, and she did a quesadilla, which that's what you do with Mexican cheese. I
Well, that
think
was
the
with
other
that was the
person that
cheese. That was the cheese challenge later on. But in the quickfire challenge where they had the mystery ingredients with the
um,
cherries, who do you think had a
I, I
disadvantage?
I think so. Like I say, Charlie had. I thought he would do a lot better than what he did.
Yeah,
Um, believe it or not, I was the Chipollinis.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
the spicy, the serrano chilies. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? I think the only one that kind of threw that chef off was Michelle with the ginseng, because she like I ain't
yeah.
never had you know.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely thought the same thing. I thought Charlie and the chocolates. Charlie with the chocolates should have.
What?
I know, right? Charlie should have had the chocolate factory, and that should have been in the bag. And we're gonna find out later that it
Yes,
wasn't quite in the
yes,
bag. And I thought Michelle too got a little bit hosed with ginseng because I like she said, I don't think of ginseng as like an ingredient. It's tea. You drink it when you're not feeling
right.
well, or you drink it just because you like it. But I never thought of using it as an ingredient. She didn't even know what it was. Like, what is this?
Yeah,
When she pulled it out of the
yeah,
door.
she thought it was a parsnip. Like, no,
Yeah,
that's ginseng.
yeah.
That's ginseng.
So it's interesting. That was interesting. So yeah, I thought Charlie should have done better, and I definitely thought Michelle was going to have some problems. But it's kind of see how it played out there. The winner would get $5,000 again. Quick fire, no immunities, but you do get cash. So $5,000 for the winner here. And we talked about some of the challenges with quick fire with the pitting of the cherries. I saw some of them using that cherry pitting tool
Yep.
on there. And then, so what do you think? Would that have been faster versus just cutting the cheeks off of the cherries around the pit and just discarding the middle part?
They're both time consuming.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's either get hit by a semi or get hit by a pickup truck. You still gonna get
He's
hit.
still gonna get hit. Yeah. I thought, well, one thing I thought was interesting is Savannah. She's a younger cook and apparently doesn't cook chicken livers a lot. And she was kind of asking like, "How do you cook these chicken livers? Can you overcook them?" And a couple of them were like, "Yeah, you can definitely overcook them. You want them kind of on the mid rare side of things." She's like, "Oh, okay." So it was interesting watching her learn how to cook chicken livers kind of in real time, right? She was trying to make a chicken liver mousse. So yeah, I mean, younger chefs go in there and cook with ingredients that they haven't cooked with before, and it's interesting to learn in that kind of pressure cooker of environment. What do you think of that?
I think it is um, indicative of what I said, experience.
Yeah,
Now, the one thing about her is she's well, all of them, like we're going forward with stuff that we know we're not going to know what it is. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And for her to ask somebody was like, yeah, you could do that. But they didn't tell her what would happen if you overcooked it.
right, right.
But like I said, I think she handled it very, very well. Just like Michelle, she
Yeah,
never cooked with ginseng, but her experience of what, let's try this kind of a mentality and go with it. Like I said, that's why I picked my team off of the gut, not of what their resume says.
yeah, yeah. I
That's
thought
that's that's one of my things is part of that. It's like I may not know this, but I know what I'm doing in the kitchen.
Yeah, and Michelle, looking at the ginseng, saying, all I know of is tea. What can I do with that? Well, I'll just make it a tea, and then we'll turn it into a broth. You seeing the gears turning and going from step one to step two. What do I know that ginseng can be? I know ginseng can be a good tea. Well, what can I do with tea? Well, I can turn it into a broth. So it's really interesting to see playing off the experience of what you do know. So
And
let's talk.
it's a lot of. I always tell folks this. People always ask me, how do I come up with these crazy dishes?
Yeah,
It's with two words. It's the what if. What if I make a tea? Okay, cool. But what if I do this and what if I do that? It'll take you further and further than saying the recipe is XYZ.
right.
It's the what if, what if, what if, and that experience. So like I said, those chefs are really, and if you've never been under that pressure, you're just armchairing it, and yeah, their pressure is there. So
I mean,
okay.
look, I get pressure at home trying to cook from leftovers. I'm like, what am I going to make for dinner tonight? And I got this cabinet full of stuff. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't even imagine doing it with 30 minutes
Right.
and being forced to use ingredients. So let's talk about the three favorites and then the three least favorites. So the favorites were Savannah. Savannah made a chicken liver mousse with a panzanella salad with shishito peppers and a Bing cherry vinaigrette. Clea said that the chicken liver mousse and cherries really came together well. Now, I'm not a big fan of chicken liver mousse, so I don't eat it a lot, but I do love a good tart cherry. So, like a dark cherry. So, I imagine that tasted really good to kind of offset the liver. I probably would have liked that a little bit. Rosica made a tart cherry, cipollini onions, charred pepper relish, and berbere spice. She balanced a variety of cherries and had a nice hit of acid, is what the judges said. And Kevin made beef tenderloin with a pole of cherries and black garlic. Carla said the tart cherries brought everything alive. So, what do you think of these three dishes and kind of the judges' comments about them?
Well, don't look at what they said about those three, because what they said about the bottom
Yeah,
brings everything together. They had a bridge between all the flavors.
yeah,
So everything came together with theirs. The other ones made it seem like, okay, yeah, it's like it's like when you taste a well balanced dish, nothing overpowers. It's all balanced well versus trying something that's like it's onion forward or there's a spice or whatever that's way too much of it. And these three really brought that balance together. And like I said, the cipollini onions, yeah, great job with that one. They all did a great job of balancing those flavors, the right acid, the right flavor. The cooking technique was really took them to that top three spots.
yeah. Rosica actually took advantage of some dried cherries, which I thought was a
Hmm.
smart idea, and the judges pointed that out too. So, yeah. So let's talk about the least favorites, and I think what you're talking about, they built a bridge with using the cherries and incorporating it and making it make sense. Whereas the three least favorites, I don't think did that or had some cooking technique issues. So. Charlie, again, the one that should have had a distinct advantage of chocolate and cherries, make a
Yeah.
straight up dessert out of that. He decides to do charred golden beets with chocolate cherry demi, smashed purple potatoes, and pickled cherries. I don't understand. Like the beets didn't go well with the chocolate and the cherries, and this should have been a shoe in. I think he overthought it. I think he didn't want to do the obvious of doing some kind of dessert with chocolate and cherries, and tried to uh, go a little too chefy with it, and then it bit him. Kenny did toasted marshmallows with rum and cherry sauce, fried cinnamon and sugar, spring roll paper. Kenny came right out and said he hates marshmallows, and if you're cooking with an ingredient that you hate, it's going to come out in your food, and it did. The judges said that they couldn't bridge the sweet marshmallow with the tart cherries and described it as disjointed. And Alicia made a charred cabbage and cherry serrano reduction and lime and anchovy butter. And they said that the cabbage, she grilled it, but she cut it way too thick, so it was undercooked. And they said that they should have maybe cut the cabbage a little smaller. So looking at the top three where they were able to bridge that gap with the cherry and their mystery ingredient and do well, what happened here on the least favorites where they weren't successful in doing that?
One, I think time got away from him. The other thing I think was when, like you said, you go into a project shooting yourself in the foot from giddy up, like, I don't even like this. I'm doing this because it's the challenge, not because I'm excited about doing it.
Right.
With Charlie, man, with Charlie, I think what his thing was, like you said, he was trying to not give them what you're expecting, but take it up a notch. Well, I get you trying to, impress the judges with something that you haven't done before. And like I said, just because it sounds good on paper, you still have to cook the dish.
Yeah.
And I think he just overthought it to say, in his head, he was probably saying, well, you know what, the beets is earthy and cherries, and it just didn't work out together like that. And like I said, I think the time was a big essence with them as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they were trying to do too much in the time that they had allotted. And with Kenny, I think he just didn't like marshmallows and it just showed.
Yeah,
So,
he was out the box, from giddy up. He was like, all
yeah,
right,
yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'll
exactly
do it.
right.
I'll call him in and see what happens. So, but yeah, like I said, I think the bottom three, they had a lot of technical issues that they need to overcome if they're going to continue throughout this competition.
Yep. So the winner of the quickfire challenge and 5 grand was Rosica. So she wins 5 grand. She won 10 grand in the last quickfire. So that brings her money total to 15 grand just off of quickfire. So she is making some bank in the quickfire challenges. So she did a great job of incorporating the dried cherries with the fresh cherries and really balancing out that flavor. And that acid really helped bring everything together too. So good job, Rosica. Congratulations on your team collecting another 5 points. Starting to become a theme here, but
How
let's
many
see.
points did I get off of that one?
You got 5 off of that one. Rosica got your 5 points. Got your 5 points. All right, so let's talk about the elimination challenge. So the elimination challenge is announced, and it's the first annual Top Chef Cheese Festival. So we're in Wisconsin, of course. Cheese will come into play. The question of when was up there. So it looks like it was the third episode in. So pretty straightforward challenge. Make a dish featuring cheese, and they have to be responsible for feeding 100 people. So this is basically kind of a catering challenge, more or less.
Yeah.
Making 100 little tasting dishes. So they drew knives, and each chef got a different cheese. So running it down. Rosca got Dunbarton blue cheese. Manny got cheese curds. Kalina got a Merlot Balavitano. Sounds fancy. Savannah got Oaxaca cheese. Dan got a Sancho Cruz Mexican style manchego. Alicia got aged brick. Kevin got triple cream brie. Charlie got Canela. Michelle got a Pleasant Ridge Reserve. Amanda got a Mount Raclette. And Kenny got a Glacier Gorgonzola. Laura got a Gouda Reserve, 1,000+ day aged. Wow. And Danny got a 15-year cheddar. So a lot of fancy cheeses. Nobody got, craft sharp cheddar out of out of the refrigerated
Listen,
section from Publix.
I think what was impressive about that is the young lady that is one of two female master cheesemakers in the country.
Yeah, yeah, when they
Um,
wheeled
that
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 table of
that
cheese.
yeah, yeah, that was impressive. And I hope that, and the theme throughout our whole thing is, I hope that other women see women doing things on that level, that
Right.
they can be like, you know what, I can do it. If she can do it, I can do it as well. So I'm really very happy with the women chefs throughout this competition. They're really stepping up and showing that, you know what, there's room at the table for the ladies.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. So thoughts on cheese? Are you a big cheese guy? Do you love cheese?
Yes,
Do you snack on
yes.
cheese when you're watching TV late at night?
So I'm a big cheese fan. I like brie. Brie is one of my favorites. Um, when I moved to Seattle, um, Beecher's cheese, I think it's called Beecher's cheese. They would they would make cheese, and you down at Pike Place Market. You go down there and you watch them make the cheese. So yeah, I got into a lot of cheeses. Then I told you I like brie, but the other one that I like is Talaggio cheese. It's
Mm,
another soft cheese that is just amazing. And I've done a lot of fun things with Talaggio. It's a very aromatic cheese.
yeah.
It could be funky at times if you're not into those funky cheeses, but Talaggio has a nice little. I mean, it's a great cheese. So yeah, I'm a big fan. There's a place here in Jacksonville called Greater Goods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Um, yeah, they have cheese tastings, and they work with the guy next door to them to do cheese and wine. So yeah, that, like I said, it's getting into cheese is sort of like getting into wine. It can go deep.
Yeah, I need to get out more because when they were naming off these cheeses, I'm like, I've never even heard of any of these cheeses. So I definitely need to make a trip out to Greater Goods and do like a cheese tasting or something. And get some high end cheese. Like right now,
Yes.
the height of my cheese is the Frigo cheese sticks that you get at Walmart. And I'm sitting there watching, Forensic
Rich,
Files at 11 o'clock at night eating string cheese. So it's just, you know,
Rich, you and I will have to go over and talk and hang out at Greater Goods, and we'll get you some cheese tasting, because she's a great. Her knowledge is there of local cheeses that she has, as well as some that she has shipped in. But yeah, we could go over there one day.
yeah, man, looking forward to that. So the winners and the top three, because they're essentially catering an event, more or less, the winner and the top three are going to be chosen by crowd vote. So the crowd's going to go around tasting everything, and they're going to pitch their vote. And the top three chosen by the crowd are going to be the top three, and then the bottom three are going to be chosen by the judges. So let's get into some of the cooks here. So when they're cooking, what they're doing. So Kalina is using dry pasta, right? And so she kind of makes a comment like, "Don't judge me for using dry pasta." But then in her confessional interview, she says, "Look, I'm cooking for 100 people. This is not the challenge to break out a fresh pasta. This is the challenge where you're going to highlight the cheese and get it done." So I thought that was I wholeheartedly agree with her. Right? You break out the made from scratch, pasta when you're doing like a small judges table type challenge. But this it's a catering event, right? You're going to use something that you can get done quick, that a lot of people are going to like, and that you can highlight the specific ingredient that you're asked to highlight. What did you think of Kalina using dry pasta, dry boxed pasta?
Kudos.
Yeah,
I mean, like she said, pasta is not the challenge. It's how do we raise the bar on these cheeses? Because if she would have made, not just her, but any of those chefs, I believe any of those chefs would have made a pasta from scratch, they would have ran out of time.
absolutely. Yep, totally
So yeah,
agree.
I have no problem, because all the chefs did a lot of cutting and dicing and technique kind of a things. So to add a pasta making in there for 100 people, oh yeah, they would have ran out of time so quick.
Yeah.
Oh, they would have ran out. They would have ran out of time.
So what was interesting when I was watching all this play out is the challenge was cheese, but it turned out to be croquettes because almost everybody was making croquettes. So walk me through
Nope.
the
Nope.
walk me through the
Nope.
brain. Seriously, walk me through the brain inside the head of a chef that's competing on a show that's doing a catering event. Why did so many chefs decide to do croquettes?
Because now, okay, let's look at this. They chose it because, oh, it's easy and quick to do, and croquettes go great with cheese. Okay. The problem is this: if you look at everybody who did well, none of them did croquettes.
Right.
So if you're in the store, if you're not in the store, and I'm like, I'm doing croquettes, you're doing croquettes, they're doing croquettes. Somebody need to say, let me back away. Like Rosca said, I'm glad I'm not into that
Yeah.
because it's like that's way and Charlie even said, Tom's gonna talk shit about this one.
Yeah. Yeah, because what you're saying is somebody should have pivoted, right? So everybody
Right.
saw that everybody's doing croquettes. Somebody should have thought, you know what, I need to be different because then they're just going to start comparing croquettes to other croquettes and it's going to be battle croquettes, not battle cheese, right? So I need to be different. And surprisingly, Kalina was the only mac and cheese dish out of the whole bunch.
Right.
Like that's where I
Right.
thought people would have gone. I would have gone mac and cheese because you can do that quick. It's simple. You can really easily highlight the cheese. I'm really
And
surprised there was only one mac and cheese dish.
look, not only is mac and cheese quick, simple, yada yada yada. But the other thing is, it can feed 100 people very fast.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Now you
Yes.
gotta fry your croquettes to order.
Yep.
You if there's so many extra steps. I always say this when I'm online as a guest chef at a restaurant. I do small dinners for like 10 people. But if I'm going to a restaurant and I'm cooking for 50, 75, 100 people, I always tell them I'm built for speed, not for comfort. So that means I'm trying to make my when I do my prep work, it's to make things faster,
Mhm.
not sit there and yeah. So like I said, it was just yeah,
And
yeah. That
people
was
people love mac and cheese. Like if you know ahead of time that the crowd is going to be picking the winner in the top 3, you make something that is going to appeal to the most people, and mac and cheese is like the ultimate comfort food. People love mac and cheese. So I'm really surprised a lot more people didn't do it.
well. I think that they next go round they're gonna be like, you know what? Let me bring it down a notch
Let me
and
rethink the challenge a little bit. Yeah.
everybody should be doing croquettes.
Yeah. So one thing that I find interesting when they were cooking in the kitchen before they go outside and cook for the next day is Tom Colicchio has a way of making you doubt every life decision you've made up until the point where he asks you what are you making, right? So he looks at Kenny's dish and Kenny's making a gorgonzola crab rangoon salad, and Tom says, "Sounds interesting. You pull it off, it's going to be a great dish. If you don't, we'll see." Like at that point, you really need to kind of rethink. Kenny should have pivoted. Kenny should have heard that and said, I don't know if this is such a great idea. Like, do you see that when Tom asks you that, you're like, oh man, maybe I'm not doing the right thing.
What's funny about that, there is a chef in town in Jacksonville that I worked for that would do the same thing. He would never say you're doing something wrong. He would always say, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, yeah. Sounds interesting. Yeah, when you hear that, it's time to rethink your life.
And he would and I'm a fan of his and when people find out who that I worked for him way back in the day, they like, "Wow." He is as long as I've known him, he's always been an even keel chef. He's always pushing his cooks to be creative and help them along the way, whether it's with a technique, whether it's a new product he's introducing. He's really into local farms around the area, and that's how Tom is. Tom's like, he didn't say that's wrong. Is that how you want to do that?
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? So
right.
Tom is that teacher that will make you teach yourself
Exactly.
what you did wrong. And like I said, there's a chef here in town that he when I was in culinary school, I would come to work and he was like, "So what'd you learn?" I'm all excited. I did this, this, and this. He said, "Let me show you another way to do it." That's not wrong, but here's another way to do it. and that's how Tom is. You
Yeah.
know, so yeah. Um, Kenny was pushing and pushing and pushing, trying to be different, but he fell off the edge.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought so too. So we'll talk about that when we get to the bottom three there. So, so the next day they're outside. They have like an hour to kind of finish up their cooking, and they're cooking outside in 95-degree weather. It's hot. It's steamy. It's they're fighting off bees. You see Michelle kind of waving the
Yep.
towel like, oh no, the bees, the bees.
No, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah! Oh, my eyes! My eyes! Ah! Ah!
Right,
And
right,
then
right.
Charlie's got paper plates flying everywhere. So I was watching that scene and I thought about you and I'm like, you must have been thought rookies cooking out. That's a dream outside cooking. Try packing everything on a mule and climbing up a mountain and then cooking. So did that bring back any kind of Food Network extreme chef memories?
Well, the weather is always. That's why I say, if the judges come to the first five chefs, they're done. They don't have to stress anymore because they're not stressing over the guests. They're stressing over the judges
Right.
because they can sweet talk the guests, but the judges, come on now, they you can't pull the wool over none of their eyes. And I think that between the heat, the wind, just the prep, it's just a lot. It's just a lot. Yeah, that's why what's his name had to do. He double breaded his stuff because it got too hot.
Yeah.
I mean, it got too soft. He's like, I gotta figure a way to do that. And you see that came to bite him in the butt too. So
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a contestant on these shows and we're quarterbacking this Monday morning quarterbacking this as always, but do you think you're going to be outside? Should you have thought as you're planning out what you're going to cook? Okay, I need to understand that I'm cooking outside. I'm going to need to be able to cook something that's not so dependent on the temperature. Like Manny was trying to cook something and he needed it for it to be cold, which what you were talking about. He had to like triple bread his cheese to fry it because it gone too soft because it was 95 degrees outside. Is that something you should be thinking about as you're thinking about your menu, that knowing that you're going to be outside?
well, the first thing was when they got what they were going to do, they started writing a menu. Nobody thought about the weather.
Right.
They're just like, oh, I can cook this and then serve it. Not thinking. I think there was maybe like one, but I think for the majority of them, nobody thought about the weather. They thought about my dish.
Right.
What dish can I make to impress the judges? And then as they started getting outside, they started crawfishing, and the double bread took away some of his seasoning. His food was seasoned perfectly. But then when you add another layer of egg and bread, it kind of dwindles out the flavor.
Yeah.
Kenny with his sauce, it's like water now.
Yeah.
Um, Manny, same thing with Manny. He's like, if he was inside, oh, he would have knocked that out of the ballpark.
Sure.
But
Sure.
nobody was thinking, oh, the weather, the weather. So in the competition, your first thought is amazing dish,
Right.
not
Heat and humidity.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
humidity.
Right, right. And talking about Kevin, having to like triple bread his stuff, like he knew he was in the weeds too. Like he
Oh
knew
yeah.
he was messing up. So he's like, maybe I can charm some of these guests, right? And he was like talking his dish up in his French accent. Kev Hall was charming everybody. He's like, oh yeah, it's great. And then, the
But
judges
like I
obviously aren't
said,
fooled.
you can do that with the guests, but you can't do that with the judges. You can't sweet talk Tom and Kirsten. You can't do that because
Yep.
they know all the tricks. They know all the tricks in the book.
That's right. That's right. So let's talk about the top three at the judges table that as chosen by the crowd, as chosen by the 100 people that were in attendance for this event, which, man, I'd love to go to an event like that. I'm waiting for my email from Bravo. So next time they are in somewhere, I'm available. You can come invite me to one of these things. But anyway, I
Yeah.
digress. So, top three for the judges table. Kalina, we talked a lot about Kalina. She made a Bella Vitano mac and cheese with Merlot mushrooms and breadcrumbs. Again, the only mac and cheese dish in the challenge, which is really surprising to me. Michelle also came up in the top three. She made a coconut curry collard green sog with Pleasant Ridge Reserve potato fritter. I think Kristen Kish said it best. She said, "I thought Michelle's dish was effing fantastic."
Yes.
So we'll talk about that in just a second. And then Dan, the local boy, made a Sancho Cruz Manchego potato dumpling, cheese foam, and olive tapenade. The judges said had a good texture with the dumplings, and Carla said it was light and summery. So let's talk about these top three. We already talked about Kalina a lot. Again, surprisingly, the only mac and cheese dish. What's not to love about mac and cheese? I knew it was going to go well with the guests. Who wouldn't? And it's great because it was hot outside, so the dish stayed warm, right? So it was gonna be
Right.
great no matter what happened. Let's talk about Michelle for a second though, because Michelle went somewhere I wasn't expecting. She made a collard green sog, right, which is with
Right.
coconut curry, completely out of left field. Everybody's doing um, all these croquettes, and she busts out a sog. What did you think about that? I mean, Kristen just simply said this dish is fantastic and said no more.
Well, like Michelle, I'm drawn to collard greens. Okay, I'm
Hmm.
a Southern man, so I'm drawn to collard, and I use collard greens in so many different ways. So when she grabbed those collard greens, I knew it was going to be special. Okay, and like I told you before, I picked her because not of her resume, is because of her culture and all these things here, and her creativity throughout these first 3 weeks. You see, she's staying to herself and going out just enough to let people know, don't you mess with me because I got some tricks up my sleeve.
Yeah.
And she bust out that I wanted to taste that curry sauce because it just, oh
It looked
yeah,
really good. It looked really good. And
yes,
then Dan, I was really happy to see the local guy doing well in the cheese challenge. I would have been
oh yeah,
slightly miffed if he didn't do well in this challenge. But he did good. He had some potato dumplings, and he had a little drama in the kitchen where he slipped and fell because somebody didn't clean up after themselves. And the guy's already got Kennedy's disease. He's having to wear braces on his ankles. We saw earlier in the show, and he said it himself,
yep.
like, I don't need help falling, right? So why didn't you just clean up after yourself? So poor guy took a
That's a big,
spill.
and that's a big thing in the kitchen. Clean up spills when they happen. Put a
Yeah.
wet floor sign down, the whole 9 yards. Because technically, if somebody would have slipped and fall,
Oh yeah.
that's
That's
workman's comp.
that's workman's comp, right? I don't know what that's like on Top Chef, but yeah, that'd have been a workman's
Yeah.
comp issue. Out
Um.
out 6 weeks paid.
But like I said, those three, nobody did a croquette.
Yeah, none of them were croquettes. So I hope everybody that made a croquette looks back at this and goes, I need to do something different next time. I need to have a
If every
backup plan.
like I said, if you hear everybody croquette, 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 you're like, yeah, I'm backing out of this one because y'all can have this. I'm out. I'm out. Oh my god, that was crazy. How many people were doing the croquettes?
Yeah, I thought that was just nuts. So the winner of the elimination challenge and immunity for the next elimination challenge is Michelle. So she wins the elimination challenge and 7 points for Team Southern Passion Lounge. Kalina and Dan being on the top three, they get 3 points for being in the top three. So those are both on my team. So I did well there. Yay. So got that done. And let's talk about the bottom three now. The bottom three were Kenny. He did a crab rangoon salad with gorgonzola, creme fraiche crema, Luxardo cherry relish, and rice paper chip. The judges said they couldn't taste the cheese, which it was gorgonzola, man. If you can't taste gorgonzola, did you even use it? So you gotta wonder about that.
Well, keep in mind it got watery,
Yeah.
so and then he was scraping at the bottom trying to give them. That's why he said it was wet and mushy because he was just giving the juice of it.
Yeah, Gail called it a pile of wet and mush, which you never want to hear your food being described as wet and
Right.
mush, man. That's
Exactly.
awful. And he didn't really have a complete dish for the judges. He actually ran out of the cherry relish by the time the judges came around. So that's why he only had that water that was left of the relish. So time management has just been an issue for Kenny all around. For the first three
Yep.
episodes, he's been having problems with time management and never got a handle on it. So Manny, your guy, was
Ah,
on the bottom for his croquette. Now,
ah.
admittedly, he said, "Look, I don't work with cheese curds." He did a potato croquette with gravy and cheese curds. I get where he was going with it. He wanted to make poutine. That's the only thing he knew with cheese curds. Which, admittedly, that's all I know about cheese curds. You know, poutine, which I thought was a good idea, but he didn't do anything with it. He didn't transform the curds. He didn't
And I
elevate
was
them in any
disappointed.
way. Yeah, he
I was
just threw
very
them out.
disappointed with that because I picked him because I was hoping that every time he stepped on the line, he would be as creative with everything, not just something that he's comfortable with.
Right.
And like they said, it's out of the bag
On the
the
dish.
on the plate. Nothing. And like I said, I would have put it inside of everything, diced it up small, put it inside of the croquettes, that type of stuff. And he didn't do that. I was disappointed. But like Kenny, he was like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And it's like he stopped right there, like, I don't know what to do, so I'm gonna just do something and give it to him.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, he got stuck, not knowing what to do with cheese curds. I can only imagine what he would have done if he got Oaxacan cheese.
Yeah,
Savannah got Oaxaca cheese,
yeah.
and if Manny got
But he
that,
was
he might
like,
have
he
busted
said,
out
I
something
wish I
else.
would have got that. He's like, I wish I would have got the Oaxaca cheese. Well, you're on Top Chef. You don't always
Right?
get what
What
your
you,
wheelhouse is.
yeah, you don't always get what you want, as they say. And then Kevin, my number one pick, again is on the bottom. This is like 2 weeks in a row. He's on the bottom. He's on the verge of being eliminated. So he made a brie croquette with Mornay ham and truffle, and of course it was too much breading. He knew it. Everybody knew it.
Right.
Couldn't taste the cheese, and of all the multitude of croquettes, the judges said it was the worst croquette out of the day. So that's saying something. That's a that's a lot
Yeah,
of
it's not like
croquettes.
two people, you and somebody else. It was like a plethora of folks doing croquette, and you're at the bottom, bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kevin's killing me. He's not living up to my number one draft pick expectations there. But what are you gonna do? So what was interesting is the judges said that not only were these dishes the bottom three of the judges, they were also the bottom three of the crowd.
Yep.
So it was just bad dishes all
All the way
around.
around. Yep.
So do you agree with the bottom three choices here? In
Yes.
terms of, did they make the right choices?
Yep. Yep.
Y-
Look, even my man Manny, he let me down, and he
Yeah.
was my number one pick. That was my
Yep.
number one pick was Manny, and
Well, at least he put some points on the board for you. Kevin's actually taking points away from me. He hadn't scored anything positive. He scored -2 in 2 out of 3 challenges. I'm like, come on, man, get it together. I mean, he even said it himself at the beginning of this episode. He said, "Man, Top Chef America is harder than Top Chef France. I really need to
yep.
focus in and dial in." I'm like, the hell you do, and you just aren't doing it, man. You're killing me. So
Oh,
after judges deliberation, Kenny is the one eliminated, which I think was the right call to make. Kenny
yep.
just did not know what he was doing in both the quickfire or the elimination challenge. Poor guy. He was just out of his depth in this one, but he's eliminated. But he's going to Last Chance Kitchen, so we're going to talk about that next and kind of see what happens there.
I think Kenny. It was like he was, and Manny. I think both of them were kind of like getting caught in a wave at the beach. You just tumbling and tumbling and tumbling,
Yeah,
waiting for it to get done, and whatever happens, that's what happened.
yeah.
But they were never in control of what they were doing. They were just trying to get through the challenge versus doing the challenge.
Yeah, on Top Chef, sometimes you cook the food, sometimes the food cooks you. And in this case, the food cooked them. And I think it's a good analogy that you mentioned. They just got caught in a rip current and just didn't know what to do and couldn't make it to shore. So So Last
Yeah.
Chance Kitchen, it's Kenny versus Sue. So on the plus side, no matter who wins, I'm getting points because they're both on my team. So that's a good thing for me. But it's only 2 points for Last Chance Kitchen wins. But let's talk about it for a minute. So the challenge in Last Chance Kitchen was to make a cheese forward dish featuring Limburger cheese in 20 minutes. Have you ever
Oh,
had Limburger cheese? I've never had or smelled Limburger, nor do I want to. But
listen.
have you ever had Limburger?
If I pulled out Limburger cheese right now, you would smell it. Okay.
Through the camera. Through
As a
the
matter of fact, they say that if you get the Limburger cheese and throw it on somebody's car in the hot sun, it would take the paint off.
Oh my god. Ugh. So Tom busted out a fun fact about Limburger cheese that I'm never going to unhear. So Limburger is one of the world's stinkiest cheeses. It's a washed rind cheese, so it develops a lot of bacteria on the outside. The particular bacteria in Limburger cheese is the same bacteria on your skin that causes body odor.
Oh my god, ew, David!
That's just foul. Like, who would want to eat a cheese like that? I mean, you got to get it past your nose before it goes into your mouth, and just smelling that there would be no
Oh,
way.
listen, if Limburger is open anywhere in the building, you'll smell it.
That's awful. What a challenge. 20 minutes to make a Limburger cheese dish. And I think what Kenny said in his interview was spot on. He said Tom's job is to pull the best out of us with things we never wanted to do. And he says, "Remember that thing you did bad? Well, here's a worse version of it. Do better."
But here's the other thing too. When Tom told it was Limburger, did you see the smirk on his face? Like they're
Oh
never
yeah.
gonna get this shit right.
Yeah, I know it. You gotta wonder if he's the one that thinks up these challenges and is like,
I would
what's
say
how
yes.
maniacal can I be?
I think with Tom's experience and his longevity in the industry and what he's done, he's that diabolical to be like, I know, because he's been around a lot of products that he'll like,
Yeah.
I know where to fuck them up. I know. Got Limburger cheese. Get me some Limburger cheese, please. Because he's like, there's certain ingredients that are so hard to pair with, and Tom probably knows every last one of them
Yeah. Yeah.
to put
Exactly.
on somebody. So yeah, I think Tom comes up with those.
So let's talk about the
It,
dishes. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
it's probably in his contract too.
That he comes up with the last chance kitchen challenges, right?
Yep.
So let's talk about the dishes real quick. So Kenny did a Vietnamese rice paper pizza with an egg base, chili crisp, grilled cantaloupe, and Limburger cheese sauce. Tom said it was crispy and liked the play between the cantaloupe and the cheese. The chili crisp gave it a punch. However, the egg never set up, so it was a little wet. Sue made an eggplant parm with ponzu pomodoro sauce and bruleed Limburger cheese. Tom said it was a classic eggplant parm, smart choice to roast the tomatoes before making the sauce. It added a lot of umami, but it could have used some acid. Also said baking the cheese until it was gooey, soft, and pouring it out over the top really worked. And then Sue broke out the blowtorch and bruleed it
Yes.
there at the end. So I thought Kenny's dish was creative. I thought it was kind of out of the box thinking with making a rice paper pizza. Um, I think Sue's was much more palatable to eat the Limburger cheese, and Kenny's looked clumsy. Like I was watching him, or I was watching Tom trying to eat it, and it looked a little clumsy. What did you think about the techniques that Kenny and Sue used to try to use Limburger cheese in the best way possible, and highlighting it?
I thought Kenny's was creative. I think his execution was wrong.
Mm,
Like with the egg, if you know you only have a short period of time and you want egg on there, he poured that egg on that pizza.
yeah.
I would have painted it on with a brush so
Okay.
it'll cook. It's a thinner and it only takes a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Um, the eggplant parm, I'm with Tom. That was it was something that I'm used to, and all I'm looking for now is flavor, his creativity, and the use of the product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know that's a parm, eggplant parm. Cool. He did every technique, the sauce, the cheese, the eggplant, all that stuff there. Kenny just was it seems like he just threw that pizza together,
Yeah.
which I get why he did his 20 minutes. and he's trying to stay with his culture. But I felt that if that's your culture, you should know how to stretch your culture out.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
should know all the techniques and things of your culture
Yep.
versus messing something up. Like
Yeah.
if I do Puerto Rican food, if I do Southern food, that's my wheelhouse. So I shouldn't. I may. It's possible, but 90% of it, I know how to do those techniques in Puerto Rican cuisine as well as Southern cuisine.
Yep.
So, but like I said, Kenny just, yeah, he just got away from him.
Yeah.
And I think Kenny's problem is he's like quicksand. Once he gets stuck, he's there. He
Hmm.
don't know how to get out, and everything he does just take him deeper and deeper into that quicksand.
Yep. And I thought Sue's eggplant parm was a much more palatable way to serve the Limburger cheese. It actually looked really good. Like I would want to have tried it. For one, I've never tried Limburger cheese, but if I'm gonna have to try Limburger cheese, give it to me in a vehicle that I'm comfortable with, and then I would be halfway there to enjoy it.
Right. And like I said, Sue's dish looked like eggplant parm. It just looked like it.
Yeah.
Now, the flavors may have been a little different, a little tweaked, but at least, like you said, the vehicle is, oh, eggplant parm, here you go. I'll try that.
Yeah.
Because I've had it before. Let me see how you do yours.
Yeah. Cranking an eggplant parm out in 20 minutes. Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So Kenny was eliminated, and it was because of that egg. Like we talked about, the egg was the downfall. It made the pizza a little too wet, a little too unruly to eat. When they announced that Kenny got eliminated, Valentine kind of had a strong reaction. Almost, I mean, I might be reading into it or speculating a little bit, but I almost feel like they're viewing Suan as an outsider coming to invade the competition because he didn't start out with them right on episode one. So I felt like Valentine really wanted Kenny to win. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe he was just, oh no, kind of empathetic to the loss of Kenny, but I kind of feel like they're looking at Sue as an outsider.
But as a competitor, that word compete, we got the same product,
Yeah.
the same amount of time. You step on the line, I'm gonna step on the line, and let's see who does the best dish in this amount of time with the same. You had the same ingredients. Everybody had the same ingredients.
Yep.
You chose rice paper, I chose eggplant. That's your choice, that's my choice. So no matter, one of the things I love about cooking is there's no height requirement, there's no gender requirement. It's all about talent and passion.
Yep.
So it's I don't care who you're in front of, that shouldn't matter. Your skill set should take you. When I went on the Food Network, I told everybody, if you put the guy who I was competing against at the end, you put his resume against mine, on paper, he was supposed to win. But my passion overrode his ego.
Yeah.
I love learning it every day, and from anybody. So, and I won. And he graduated from CIA. I didn't graduate from culinary school. So that doesn't bother me if you bring somebody new in.
Yep.
If you're telling me you're on my same level because you went to Top Chef and I'm on Top Chef, let's see who the Top Chef is.
Yep. Yep. That's
So I
right.
don't. Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah, I don't buy that. Nope, nope. I don't. He may be an outsider, but you stepped into my world, so now I'm gonna show you why I belong here, and you need to show me why you belong. You need to show me why I don't belong here.
Yep. So Sue is 2-0 in Last Chance Kitchen. He's two down. He's got three to go. And if he wins the next three, he's back in the main competition. So let's break down the draft point update for this episode. So the quickfire winner was Rosika. So she earned you 5 points. Top of the judges table was Kalina and Dan. They both earned me 3 points apiece. The elimination winner was Michelle. Got you 7 points. The bottom three were Kenny, Manny, and Kevin, negative 2 points each. So two of those three were on my team, so that's -4 for me and -2 for you. Last Chance Kitchen win was Sue, who was drafted to my team after being the surprise Last Chance Kitchen participant. So he earned me +2. So for the episode totals, Team Southern Passion Lounge, you have 10, and Team Eat Your Content, I got 4. So I put up a little bit of a better fight this week, this episode, 10-4. But the show totals really are going to show the disparity here. You are at 34 points after 3 episodes. I am at 1.
Well, somebody stop the damn match! Enough's enough!
So I'm at least out of the negative. I'm out of the hole, which is always a plus. I don't want to go in the hole anymore.
So let me ask you this. Next season, when you do this again, I'm sure you're gonna do it again. Will it change the way you look at how you pick your team?
Yeah, this is yeah. I think I'm gonna go more like you. I'm gonna say, okay, who's used to big bold flavors? Because I'm
I
learning a
was telling
lesson this year.
somebody when I talk about this show that we're doing, they're like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, I picked no none of the people I picked was because of their resume. It was all because, oh, you're Mexican, you're Puerto Rican, Dominican, you're a pit master, you're this, you're that. That's how because cooking is from the soul for me. It's from the soul. And everybody that I picked, except for one, um, they have that soul in them that they cooking, and it's bigger than just the dish that's in front of them. It's a cultural thing. It's a family thing. It's their people. Like when Manny won, he like my people. When Michelle wins, it's a win for women in general, Black women in general, and that's why I picked who I picked.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you learned something this season, like
Oh yeah.
man.
Yeah, I'm learning something. But like I said, I'm out of the hole now. But I'm still losing by 33 points. You're up 34-1. Now next week they did play a preview of next week's episode. It looks like there's going to be a double elimination next week. This could be
Right.
a very pivotal turning point for our teams. Could be 2 people from one team, 2 people from the other team. Could be 1 person from each team. Who knows? Could be really interesting. So I'm looking forward to seeing what next week's episode
Well, it,
has
it's
in
like it's
store.
like we said last week. There's still a lot of cooking. We ain't even got
Oh
the
yeah.
restaurant wars yet, so
Oh
there's a
yeah.
lot. There's a lot of cooking, and I don't want to um you know do backflips now because, like I said, you don't know what's coming down the pipe next. So, and the other thing too is as you start eliminating chefs, now the spotlights gets brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. Now there's
Right.
no middle. There's
Right.
no middle anymore. It's everybody sees exactly what you do or what you don't do.
Yeah, I mean, we're only 3 episodes in, but you're starting to see some separation of the chefs. You're starting to see who the people are that you need to look out for. Like Rosica, obviously 2 quickfire challenges in a row. She's one to watch out for. Melissa won an elimination challenge and also was in the top in last week's episode. I think she was in one of the top best dishes. So she's obviously somebody to look out for. Manny's somebody to look out for. So a lot of the standout chefs are starting to separate from the pack. My team is still kind of in the middle of that pack. They're still kind of tailing at the end and in the middle. Um, Kevin needs to get it in gear. Top Chef finalist from France. I expected more, but you are flaming out on me, man. So I'm going to need Kevin to
Well,
do better.
I'm looking to see what Savannah is going to do.
Yeah, Savannah's coming into
Um,
her own.
I'm looking to see what Savannah's going to be doing. I'm looking to see what as we get smaller and smaller groups, how Michelle is gonna step her game up just a little bit more, because she's excited now that she's got that win under her belt. So she's like, okay, elimination, got that down, boom. So we're gonna move on. And now I think when you get elimination, you're not hiding, but now you can be more creative because you're not going home.
That's right. That's right.
So you can push the envelope just a little bit further
Yep.
than you would if you might go home. I'm not going to do that. Now it's balls to the wall. Now she do what she want to do now.
Yeah.
But she's not going to rest on that the fact that she can't get eliminated. She's still going to push herself.
Yep. Yep. So we did it, Chef. We successfully recapped another week. Enjoyed my time with you again. So just to give you some time again to plug whatever you got going on, what you got going on over the next couple of weeks that people should be aware of.
So next couple of weeks, weekend coming up, I'll be in Gainesville. We're doing some tailgating there. And then at the end of the month, I'm going to be in Hastings, Florida, at the Bacon, Cabbage, and Potato Festival. I think that's what it is. In Hastings, Florida, 27th and 28th. I'll be promoting my spices down there. And you go to my website, chefamadeus.net, if you want to purchase the spices. I think that's about it right there. I got some other things we're working on. The podcast. Hopefully, I told you earlier. We're gonna. I'm waiting on some more things to happen. Had a little health scare this weekend,
Uh-oh.
but I'm back. I'm back and ready to go. So, but yes, can you follow me on Instagram at Chef Amadeus, TikTok Chef Amadeus, and you'll see everything that I'm trying to do, work on, and do some fun things like that. So that's about it.
Awesome. Yep. So to keep up with Chef Amadeus, where he's going to be, if you want to catch him in person, chefamadeus.net. He's got tour dates scheduled there. So you can click on that. You also purchase the spices on that website. And again, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at Rich Herrera at Eat Your Content. Also on YouTube at Eat Your Content. We're doing a video podcasting now, as they say, that's the wave of the future. So I'm trying to get in on that. And you can follow me there as well. And make sure to like, follow, and subscribe on your podcast player of choice to make sure you are updated, and hit the subscribe button and the bell button to make sure you're notified of when new episodes drop. Chef, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Not a problem.